Here's the first part of the script for your podcast episode on the Let Them Theory by Mel Robbins. This text is designed for a 20-minute runtime, approximately 6,000 words total. Note, this is part one of two. I have focused on the hook, intro, and the first core pillar of the theory. Once you have copied this, I will generate part two to complete the full 20-minute duration. Imagine you're at a party and your best friend, the person you do everything with, didn't invite you to the one dinner you really wanted to go to. You're sitting at home, staring at your phone, refreshing their Instagram story, feeling that hot sting of rejection in your chest. You're rehearsing the angry text in your head. You're wondering what you did wrong. You're trying to figure out how to manipulate the situation so they feel guilty. Now, imagine if instead of that spiral, you just took a deep breath and said two words, let them. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the show. Today, we're talking about a concept that is currently exploding across social media and mental health circles, and for a very good reason. We are diving into Mel Robbins' latest book, The Let Them Theory. If you've ever felt like you are the unofficial manager of everyone else's behavior, if you're exhausted from trying to make your partner more romantic, your boss more appreciative, or your friends more reliable, this episode is your permission slip to resign from that job. By the end of this deep dive, you're going to understand the psychological science behind why we try to control people, how the let them mindset actually improves your relationships instead of ruining them, and how to reclaim the massive amount of emotional energy you've been leaking into other people's lives. Mel Robbins says this is the simplest tool she's ever shared, but it's also the most difficult to master. So let's get into why these two words are a total game changer for your peace of mind. Let's start with the baseline frustration of modern life. We spend a staggering amount of time mentally editing other people. Think about your morning. Maybe you're annoyed because your coworker didn't reply to an email, or your spouse left the dishes in the sink again, or your parents are criticizing your career choices. We carry these invisible backpacks full of other people's shoulds. They should be more organized. They should be kinder. They should see my potential. When we do this, we are engaged in a silent war with reality. And here is the hard truth that Mel Robbins hits us with right at the beginning of the book. You cannot control people. You can only control your reaction to them. When you try to control others, you aren't actually helping them. You are just hurting yourself. You're holding your breath, waiting for them to change so that you can finally feel okay. The let them theory is about flipping that script. It's about realizing that your okayness is not a hostage to their behavior. So, what does let them actually look like in practice? It's not about being a doormat. It's not about being passive or letting people walk all over you. In fact, it's the opposite. It's emotional sobriety. If your friends are going out to brunch that you weren't invited to, let them. If your adult child is making a financial mistake you've warned them about, let them. If your partner isn't interested in the same personal growth books as you, let them. When you let them, something miraculous happens. You stop being a parent to the adults in your life. You stop the nagging, the prodding, and the subtle manipulation. And for the first time, you get to see who people actually are, not who you are forcing them to be. This is a crucial distinction. If you have to nag someone to treat you with respect, you don't actually know if they respect you. You only know they are reacting to your pressure. When you stop the pressure and let them, you finally get the truth. And the truth, as they say, will set you free, even if the truth is that they aren't the right person for you. Before we move into the 8 key areas of life where this theory creates the biggest impact, including how to use this at work without getting fired, let's take a quick pause. If this concept is already making you think of someone in your life, why not share this episode with them? Or better yet, take a moment to leave us a 5-star review. It's the best way to support the show and keep these insights coming. And if you're listening on Apple Podcasts or Spotify, hit that follow button so you never miss a weekly dose of clarity. Back to Mel's insights. One of the most powerful parts of the book is where she discusses the control freak inside all of us. She explains that our need to control others is usually a survival mechanism rooted in anxiety.
We think that if we can just get everyone else to behave, we will finally be safe. But that's an illusion. It's like trying to herd cats while you're standing on a surfboard. It's exhausting and impossible. Mel shares a story about her own life, something very relatable. She talks about the struggle of watching her children grow up and make choices she doesn't agree with. Every fiber of her being wanted to jump in and fix it. But she realized that by letting them, she was actually giving them the gift of their own experience. She was letting them build their own resilience. This is a huge takeaway for anyone who is a parent, a manager, or a mentor. Your help is often just a form of control that prevents other people from growing. And let's talk about the workplace for a minute, because this is where people get nervous. People ask, Mel, if I let them at work, won't my employees just slack off? Won't my boss overlook me? The theory handles this brilliantly. Let them doesn't mean you don't have standards. It means you stop wasting time being upset that people aren't meeting your silent expectations. If an employee is consistently late, you let them be late, and then you let them experience the natural consequence of being fired or put on a performance plan. You stop the emotional drama and move straight to the logical boundary. It's about replacing "why are they doing this to me" with "they are doing this, and now I have a choice to make." This shift in perspective moves you from being a victim of your circumstances to being the architect of your life. It turns out when you stop trying to change the people around you, you suddenly have a massive surplus of energy. And in the next part of this episode, we're going to talk about exactly where to put that energy, into your own goals, into your own joy, and the high five mindset that Mel Robbins is famous for.
Now, let's go deeper into why we find "let them" so terrifying. It really comes down to one word: expectations. We all walk around with these internal scripts of how life is supposed to go. My partner should know I'm tired. My sister should check in on me. The barista should be friendlier. When we say "let them," we are essentially burning those scripts. Mel Robbins explains that most of our unhappiness doesn't come from what people do, but from the gap between what they did and what we expected them to do. By closing that gap, you reclaim your power. Think about the comparison trap. We spend hours scrolling through social media, seeing people live lives that look better than ours. We feel behind. We feel inadequate. The "let them" theory applies here, too. Let them post their highlight reels. Let them have the fancy car or the perfect vacation. Their journey has nothing to do with your worth. When you stop looking sideways at what everyone else is doing, you finally have the focus to look forward at where you are going. This brings us to one of the most transformative chapters in the book, The Love You Deserve. Mel gets really vulnerable here. She talks about how we often stay in mediocre or even toxic relationships because we are addicted to the potential of the other person. We think, if I just explain it one more time, they'll understand, or if I'm just more patient, they'll change. The "let them" theory is the ultimate litmus test for love. When you stop trying to fix the other person, you finally see the reality of the relationship. Does this person show up for you? Do they respect your boundaries? Do they make an effort? If the answer is no, then you let them be exactly who they are, someone who isn't right for you. It's painful, yes, but it's much less painful than spending 10 years trying to change someone who doesn't want to change. You release the grip of people's expectations so you can finally create space for someone who loves you for who you actually are. Now, I know what some of you are thinking. This sounds a bit cold, doesn't it? It might feel like you're becoming indifferent, but Mel argues it's actually the highest form of respect. When you let them, you are acknowledging that they are a sovereign human being with the right to make their own choices, even if those choices are bad ones. You are giving them the dignity of their own life, and in return, you get the dignity of yours. So how do we actually start doing this tomorrow morning? Mel breaks it down into a few core steps. First, catch the control craving. It usually starts as a tightening in your chest or a repetitive thought about what someone else should be doing. When you feel that, stop, take a breath, say the words out loud or in your head. Let them. Second, identify the boundary. Let them doesn't mean you don't have a voice. If someone is being disrespectful, you can say, "I'm going to let you speak to me that way, but I'm going to leave the room now because I don't participate in conversations like this." See the difference? You aren't trying to force them to stop yelling, you are controlling your own presence. Third, redirect the energy. This is the now what phase. Once you stopped obsessing over their behavior, you'll have all this extra brain power. Use it. Work on that project you've been putting off. Go for that walk. Read that book. The let them theory is ultimately a tool for self-investment. As we move toward the end of today's deep dive, I want to leave you with a let them cheat sheet for your week ahead. Number 1, let people misinterpret you. You don't need to win every argument or explain your side to people who aren't committed to understanding you. Let them think what they want. Your peace is more important than their opinion. Number 2, let people make mistakes. You aren't the world's safety net. Sometimes the best way to help someone is to let them hit the ground so they can learn how to stand up on their own. Number 3, let the world be messy. You cannot curate a perfect, friction-free life. Instead of trying to control the wind, focus on how you're setting your sails. Mel Robbins has written a lot of books, but the let them theory feels like the missing piece of the puzzle. It's the bridge between knowing what you want and actually having the peace of mind to enjoy it. It's about resilience, it's about maturity, and ultimately, it's about freedom. Thank you so much for joining me today. I know we've covered a lot of ground, and shifting your mindset from control to letting go isn't something that happens overnight. It's a practice. So start small. Next time someone cuts you off in traffic or a friend cancels plans at the last minute, just try it. Just say let them and see how it feels to put that heavy backpack down. If you found value in this episode, please share it with one person who needs to hear this message today. We all have that friend who's stressed out trying to manage everything. Maybe this is the 20 minutes they need to finally breathe. Until next time, keep focusing on your own path, keep protecting your energy, and remember, the only person you're in charge of is you. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.